Broke Vengers, visitors to the tower, and the like. We'll be started in just a minute. It's totally my fault, as per usual, that we are late. But don't worry, we shall stream for ample amounts of time. Darren and I are going to be fighting. Discussing many nerdy things. All right, see you soon. Round one, fight. Darren, we probably made him wait too long already, so we should probably just get it started. Look,
get right into it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, I don't want to fight.
I know. Did people in the chat are already like, round one, let's go? I think they want to see us fight. Wow, you guys.
I know. You have to expect it from them. You know, they can't help themselves. They're like, they want blood. They want to see it.
Yeah.
Look, we already had a very heated moment before we went live, and I feel terrible.
Why do you always feel bad when we fight? I literally never care.
I know.
I'm always like,
it's kind of weird that you
always
don't.
gonna be okay.
No, I know. No, in all seriousness, though, we're gonna get into the nerdy stuff. We're gonna talk about it. Look, I think the truth is we have probably a difference of opinion about the Snyder Cut.
Probably. I mean, we called that last week. We were like, this is just something we're probably never gonna agree on.
But here's the thing. I foolishly made videos and streams all week where I said, guys, I haven't heard from Darren exactly, but I have this feeling that she's gonna reach out and say, I absolutely loved the Snyder Cut and it was incredible and you were so right and I can't wait to let's go Snyder Cut. So we haven't really talked about it. Did that happen? Did that happen?
Did not happen. It was fine. It was so long. But I will say, to be fair, like, because I didn't like the original Justice League movie so much, it was hard for me to discern a lot of parts that were new and what weren't new. There were obvious parts that were very new, but a lot of the subtler stuff, I'm like, was this in the original take? I don't really know.
Yeah.
It was more enjoyable than the original one, that's for damn sure. At least it was, like, worth watching and, like, entertaining, and I was like, actually engaged, as opposed to the first one where I was forcing myself to watch it. Like, for real. I was like, but this one was it was okay.
Yeah. I just don't want to fight. I'm just throwing I'm throwing my hand, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do it because I just think we have such different opinions. And the thing is, It's been a weird week for fans of the Snyder Cut, DC fans in
Why?
general. Well, on Monday, the CEO of Warner Media came out, a woman named Ann Sarnoff, and she did a big interview in, I believe it was Variety, could have been Deadline, but I thought it was Variety. And she basically said, we're not doing any more Snyder Cut stuff, we're not going to do the Ayer cut, and this is sort of a shot across the bow from what a lot of people view as sort of the institutionalized suits power of Warner Brothers that has always kind of had it in for Zack and the community. And then it sort of comes out later that, like, the Snyder Cut has outpaced Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's performed incredibly well. It's blowing up on social media. It seems like, to me, the Snyder Cut did exactly what it was supposed to do. And fans, like, it just seems weird that we're probably not going to get more of it. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess to be fair, will anything like the Snyder Cut be as successful though? Like, would anything have the same backing if they were to do that for other franchises? So
what you mean?
maybe that's like, if when you're saying Erica, is that I'm guessing it's for other movies. Like, we're not going to do director cut releases for any of our other movies. This is the only one we're doing, so deal with it.
Yeah,
I'm
sort of.
saying
So,
that
yeah, I think.
would a director cut of other movies be as successful?
Well, okay, so I guess just sort of backtrack for this particular thing, and I know you're not like sort of in that fandom or whatever, but so the sort of story here is that the same forces that sort of came in and messed with Zack's vision messed with David's. So David Ayer, especially early on in his script, he had a lot of stuff that tied into the Nightmare stuff that Zack was doing. So, for instance, the obviously Leto Joker, that's a thread, but also Steppenwolf, apparently in one version of the script, was going to be in the Suicide Squad, and it was going to be the sort of Zack version. So, like, there was a lot of connective tissue, and when Jeff Johns and other people kind of hacked that apart, and they really did a number on that Suicide Squad movie. Like, I love David Ayers. Like, I think Training Day is like
that one felt weirdly edited too. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I was watching the Suicide Squad, I just felt it felt.
It's the
I had a
worst
similar
edited
reaction to watching Mulan, the live action movie, where I was like, "What happened in the editing room?"
Well,
Because
they got a
confused.
trailer. Yeah, it's pretty well documented that they got a trailer house to do final cut on his Suicide Squad movie, which is crazy. Like, can you imagine being an established director and a studio, especially a studio that is supposedly for the creative vision, right? That's what they always, Warner Brothers always think. And then they literally give your final cut to a trailer house.
Yeah, that
It's
would
like
be
crazy.
I know. That's why I always, like, when I watch movies and stuff, I try to never take it at face value, because I'm like, there are so many hands.
So
in this
many
pot
hands.
Right now. Like,
To be fair, I think that's kind of what you're saying as far as, like, we can't just remake everybody's movie, and I totally get that. But apparently Ayer's cut is even more completed, at least a different version of the one that we got by the trailer house. A different version of that movie
is there some scandal, because aren't they making another Suicide Squad movie?
Yeah.
So maybe there's some scandal with, like, they don't want that cut interfering with the cut that they're doing now, which is more business suit stuff, which sucks.
Which sucks, because I thought we were over that. I mean, personally, as a DC fan, like, I thought the multiverse was sort of their answer to that. And earlier in the year, they had sort of implied that via the multiverse, because they have the Ezra Miller Flash pop up in the CW show, right? And that was the Suits. So, like, the Suits seem to be on board with the sort of have your cake and eat it too attitude. But it seems like only for certain things or whatever, you know?
I also really, now that I think about it, I can't imagine what an Ayers cut would do to disrupt continuity, because the end of the Suicide
makes
Squad
zero
movie
sense.
Didn't do anything, so I don't see how it would be disruptive in any. And it was also kind of a standalone franchise in its own right, because it didn't really. It's just like a fun. I don't know. That sucks.
Plus, like, I think we've
Warner Brothers,
completely
get your shit together.
for sure. Well, we've also as fans just completely given up that sort of continuity thing, because, like, Diana talks about there's clear contradictions from, like, Wonder Woman 1984 to the Diana that's in Zack's Snyder Cut. You know what I mean? And it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, honestly, who cares? Like,
yeah, especially if, like, the Snyder Cut with all of its success, it's like, hey, Warner Brothers, take the W when you can get it, because you're not doing great. So
yeah,
it's like,
well, that's my whole thing.
You actually had, like, a fan invigorated thing that did wonders for your franchise, then maybe follow that thread.
Well, I think my biggest point with it is that I just, you know what I mean? Like, you're not even a fan, and you're sort of like, why not? And I think that's kind of where everybody's at, is like, why not? Like, especially if you're just sitting back and you're like, it's clearly doing some big numbers. I mean, those are big numbers for them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it did.
It's like, what do you have to lose? Like,
what do you have to lose?
There's nothing coming out right now. Like, we're still in a pandemic. Like, what the fuck?
I think they run more of a risk by making it a thing between the theatrical cut stuff and Zack's stuff. Like, if they just truly, this is the thing I don't think they understand. If they shove out the fans because they're like, oh, they're too toxic, or we don't want any more uncovering of our practices, or whatever, maybe a combination of all those things, right? Because there's the Ray Fisher element. There's a lot of things there. So maybe it's just like this combo of things.
That's part I liked.
What's up?
I was just saying that was part I liked in the new movie.
Oh, he's good. He's good. Yeah.
Cyborgs.
Jesus. But no, he's cool. But point is, like, if they have their various reasons to not do it, right?
Yeah.
Then it would require like the fans and to sort of push them to overcome that. And I think the thing that really doesn't make any sense to me is that, like, they've sort of stepped in that direction already with doing it at all. So I just really don't understand. Like, did they really think that they could just do it? And then we would all be like, oh, thank you so much. Like, it's so cool. Like, we don't want more of that. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't think they get it. Like, I just don't think they have their finger on the pulse. And that's like a big issue with all of their work. So
this is true.
They're the ones that are going to fucking lose out on it. And so are we. True. Inadvertently, because they refuse, but
true. Well, sorry everybody, but we didn't want to fight that much, so shut your mouth. And now we're going to talk about something. I don't mind fighting. No, I know. I'm the one. So I wanted to change the conversation to something that we actually like, and that we.
So you don't want to talk about the Snyder Cut at all?
No.
No, you're feeling that emotionally strongly about it.
I just feel like if we go down this road. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'd honestly, no. I'd prefer not to, frankly. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what the chat says. I'm sure that they would love for me to just explode with all of my fanboyish, you know. But anyway, no. I'd rather talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We both liked the episode quite a bit, but we didn't get to like actually talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I texted you. I was like, "Oh my god, it was so fun!"
Dude, I agree. Apparently, a shit ton of people watched it too, which I did not actually think was going to be the case when I first was looking at social media and the social media impact.
You didn't think that it would be like universally liked?
No. Like, meaning what I saw on social media did not make me think it was viewed that much. Do you know what I mean?
Like it wasn't very popular.
Correct. Yeah, it didn't seem to pop the same way that like Mando or even WandaVision did.
I don't think there was as much marketing for it, because I actually had a few even people at my work being like, "Oh my god, the Falcon and Winter Soldier came out," because anytime anything nerd happens, people are just like, "You."
Yeah.
Ugh. And so I got a few. It's like, "Oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier came out," so I don't even think people knew about it.
That's weird, because I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I don't know if people really did know about it. That's a whole nother thing within this sort of digital age.
I don't think I would have known about its release date if I wasn't as dialed in as I am because of this show and what we're doing. I genuinely did not know, because I haven't seen it anywhere. There's no advertisements for it. There's no Instagram ads. I didn't see anything about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know, man. Apparently, it's the most watched Disney. I don't know how they come up with these numbers. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly.
They could just be telling us this.
Well, that's the thing. How is it possible? I almost want to be like, how is it possible that nobody in my personal life knew about the show? You're telling me people didn't know, right? From what I saw on social media, it didn't seem to pop. The numbers I've seen from different YouTubers and their videos and views and stuff definitely doesn't seem like it has the same impression numbers as these other shows did. And then Disney comes out and it's it's the most watched thing we've ever had.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I thought it was a great time. I
No,
very much enjoyed
it's a
it.
kick-ass show. So yeah, let's get into it. What are your like initial thoughts? So, I guess the main criticism of people online was that it was slow.
I didn't feel like it was slow at all. I do feel. I think one of the initial things I felt was, when you watch a trailer these days, and you know that there is an actual formula to making trailers to make them like hit super hard
Yeah.
and make them have this emotional payoff, like it's an actual formula that people adhere to. I kind of felt like that was what was happening in this Marvel show. I was just like, Marvel and Disney at this point are so dialed in to what just kind of like tittles the positive neurons in our brains, and it was just like hitting all those things. And I'm not saying it didn't work, it worked, but it was totally just of the Marvel formula, and it was just a really good time. We talked last week about I really missed those choreographed Marvel action scenes, and we got that, which I was super super excited about. The initial fight scene that was like all in that, I thought that was a bunch of fun.
Yeah, it was super
My boyfriend, who's like a flight nerd, was like, "Oh, the physics of that." I was like, "Shh, just shut the."
You know what's funny though? I did almost immediately notice that the physics didn't make any sense because when it's actually not. It's to your point. It's funny. It's an editing problem. It's not actually a physics problem. It's the way that it's all edited, where the drop doesn't seem realistic when the plane.
Or just like, I mean, like those little flying squirrel suits that they are doing.
Oh, those
I'm
were
like,
complete. Those didn't make any sense.
What? I'm like, just at that point, if that's what they're going to be doing, just give jetpacks. I don't know.
For sure, because
doing?
they're like accelerating, like he like dips and then accelerates, and you're like, what the fuck was that,
I know,
bro?
I was just like, dude, I'm like, we're in a world where like if a bunch of villains had jetpacks, I'd just accept it. So just give them jetpacks. They're literally like traversing through this canyon, like, I'm like, that's just.
Dude,
what?
I will say though that is an incredible scene, and it does nail kind of what you were talking about. It was either last week or the week before about how Marvel does a really great job of utilizing the different powers in unique and interesting ways. And there's there's just stuff that's very unique to Falcon, like even the sort of wet work of like crawling onto the plane. The way he goes through the plane, he enters in, it was really, really cool. I thought that action scene was sweet, but I will say upon a second viewing, that is literally like damn near the only action in the entire show. There is a scene with Bucky.
It was heavy. It was a long scene though. Like,
I don't really think it is, actually. I think it's only about 5 minutes.
But for a show, that's what, 40 minutes?
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, that's a lot of time spent on action, which was, I think, smart because
I guess they
know what the people like.
Yeah.
And I will say, and when we talked about last week with that like nerd writer video with like understanding like the physics of fight scenes, weirdly with all of his supernatural movements, it's like you can so understand the physics of like the Falcon's movements and his capability, like with those metal wings and also like his strength. And it was very
the limitations are important too. The limitations,
And I super super enjoyed it. I mean, they had that short action scene with Bucky, but it's more like sad.
Yeah, it was horrible, right? And then there's a little action, I guess, with the Flag Smashers too, where the homie gets beat up. But yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, there was a large sort of criticism heard by a lot of fans about just the fact that like it was a very honestly, when I watched the episode, my takeaway, and I said this in my review, and I said like sort of right away, trauma. Like this is just this is a show about trauma. And these dudes dealing with these very heavy situations, and I don't know if that was exactly what people were looking for in some ways. Some people were just looking for like a Falcon and the Winter Soldier, punch, throw the shield around kind of thing. And they got some real shit. You know what I mean? Like they did get served up some real shit. Bucky shit was real. Sam shit was super real.
That's such a thin complaint, though. I don't think that's...
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Thin.
Again, to reference that Nerd Writer video, he talks about scenes, right? The importance of scenes is like taking a setting and mapping out an emotional narrative that has a purpose and has like an arc to it within a certain setting.
Yeah,
and the purpose of doing scenes like that is because later on the emotional payoff feels more gratifying. And he references the Age of Ultron scene where it's like a 16-minute scene in this like house, and like Joss Whedon like fought to have that in because it does tell a very important narrative character story. So like later on in the movie, for instance, when Hawkeye's like sacrificing himself, like it hits way harder because of like all that you've seen. So it's like that is like scene work that Marvel is actually really good at, that I think will pay off hard, especially if they're doing a show and this is going to be several episodes long. And yeah, that's the stuff that they need to do. I don't know. I truly didn't feel like it was slow at all because I felt like all the scenes were very different. I was like in it the whole time. I was very
I think the first time I watched it, I was like really sort of taken in by it, and it didn't feel slow. But the second time I watched it, and I was more critically watching it, I guess the second time, I did feel like it was slow. Like I was like, this is slow, but not necessarily in a bad way. And I think like my feeling was, I really like these dialogue scenes and these sort of really intimate pulling out scenes. Like even the date scene, like I like that scene, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I like that scene. Like she's sort of picking him apart a little bit. Like it's there's a lot going on there. I like it. The bank scene. I like the bank scene. You know what I mean? Like I like a lot of these.
All those scenes we're doing was showing you where these characters are right now and what it feels like to be them living in the setting and the circumstances that they are now. And I truly didn't feel like there was any wasted time. Like I felt like every scene was very like purposeful and succinct for like what it was trying to say. Like I felt like the dialogue was actually moving very fast in the purpose that it was trying to achieve.
I don't know if I totally agree. I think it's a little too early to tell. I don't know if I totally agree because there's some of it that just doesn't work for me. And like, for instance, like
which part?
Well, like for instance, Yuri, and the fact that like the girl kind of brings up the fact that he doesn't know how it happened. I was like, come on. Like she's not going to specifically bring up the triggering aspect of this and then go super far as to like, unless she turns out to be like a double agent or some shit, which would be crazy. But it seemed like just way too much for me. I was like, yeah, that's too much.
I don't really. I just snatched a bug out of the air.
Dude, what? Nice.
I hate mosquitoes. I don't think that's very far off. I mean, if she lives at the local neighborhood restaurant and he's a man that's lived there for many years.
No. I agree that she would definitely feel that way. I'm saying it was an exposition type line for her to explicitly repeat. Like, I think it's the fact that he doesn't know how it happened that makes it so difficult. Like that aspect, like her repeating it didn't feel natural. Like it felt like the plot needed to remind you. But in that same complaint, that would, if you wanted that service, it would have been even slower. Wait, what? If I wanted what service?
It's like if you didn't want it to be as obvious or you wanted it to be a little more earned, that would have made it even slower.
Oh, you mean, what do you mean it would have made it slower?
Just like the show. So it's just like the slow parts where they're like building all this stuff. It's like when they're doing those obvious lines, I think that's for speed.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. I think my thing with the episode is it might well make total and complete sense once we see all the rest of the episodes. You know what I mean? It might like totally make sense and we'll be like, oh man, like, yeah, you know, to your point, it sort of created, you know, attachment to these different elements and these different things. But if I'm being completely honest, if I'm just a fan of Marvel content and I want like a fun buddy cop show and I tune in for an hour and I get this hour, I think you're totally well within your rights to not like it and to think it's slow and to think that there were too many dialogue talky scenes. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to be real. I think they need to do. They cannot do this for 6 hours. If the show is this for 6 hours, I do not think I will enjoy it. You know what I mean? Just being.
They already dropped a bomb with the Captain America thing at the end of the episode, so I do think it's about to accelerate going forward. But I think with any TV show, is every episode like just like bing bang boom action in your face. It's like no.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
It's gotta set the stage. I mean, like. They dropped the whole "who's this Captain America" nugget at the end of the last episode, so I think that's going to accelerate the action. And just in regards to storytelling for TV shows as a whole, every episode isn't always like bing bang boom, like flashy stuff. It's like they set the stage.
No,
So
yeah,
it's-
for
it's
sure, for
already
sure.
enough
No,
of them.
I feel you there. I just think, if you're doing 6 episodes, we've technically seen a sixth of it now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so if next week, if it follows the same pattern, we've technically seen a third of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is gonna quickly become a thing. Like if they don't
Yeah.
like actually have some badass stuff. Now, luckily, I think some badass stuff is coming for sure. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I just think that it was a lot of stage setting because I think it's going to be, I mean, if we're really looking at the grand scheme of things, we don't really know a lot about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We don't. We know them, adjacent to what they tell to Captain America's story, but we don't know anything about them personally. And so if an entire show is going to be focused on them, we have to at least understand them a little bit. So
True.
they do have to,
That's
I feel
fair.
like they do have to spend an entire episode being like, who are these people are, this is what they're feeling, this is what they're going with. I actually really enjoyed the therapy scene.
Yeah, his
I
therapy.
thought
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
very fun.
yeah.
Like, and as someone who's gone through a lot of therapy, it's all about finding the person who's right for you, which is weird. It's like finding a therapist is like dating, and like therapists do have to kind of employ different styles for different people for what works for them. And I thought it was actually kind of fun seeing like the angle that worked for him that was most effective for his situation. And I thought it was it's great, and it was quippy and it was fun.
Yeah, no, that seems pretty fun for sure. I think she's totally manipulating him, though. I don't think she's a good therapist at all. Like, there was a moment where I felt like he legitimately was being honest about wanting peace, and she immediately shot it down. Because and what did she do? She not only shot it down, she said... Sorry?
No, what are you talking about? I'm trying to remember the line.
Okay, well, he, when having sort of a breakthrough, like saying, like, this is new to me, I had a few moments of peace in Wakanda, but other than that, it's been 90 years of going from one fight to the next. And she says, now that you're done fighting, what do you want? And he says, peace, very honestly. She immediately shuts it down and says, bullshit. And then he says, you're a terrible friend. And then she says, yeah, but I'm a good soldier. Now, what that says to me is that she is a probably government-planted person to not so much actually help Bucky Barnes or James Buchanan Barnes, but to help this machine get back to work, this weapon get back into the field. And I think that's probably how it's going to go down.
I liked it. I liked it because...
yeah, it's creepy for sure.
No. I liked it because it was both for me. So I got that same reaction where I was like, because also with any kind of like government-sponsored therapist or like court-appointed therapist, you're always just like, this is like, you don't even really care about me. You're just trying to do a thing. But then there's also the other side that like, obviously they care. It's their job. So it's like, there's always that suspicion. So I literally got the dual-sided, what is this? Because honestly, that's what some people need in therapy. They do need that, like, because that answer kind of is bullshit. Like, oh, I want peace. And you're like, okay, peace? What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Like, she's like, tell me what you want, what you actually see for your life. You have no friends. You have nothing going on. Like, there's more to life than peace. There's like fulfillment and contentment. So I saw it as like two conflicting threads, and I actually really enjoyed it.
That's like, cool. Yeah, no, that's deep. That's deep.
Going on.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot going on in the show. I think different people are going to be able to pull things out of it. You know what I mean? Which is really cool. I think there's certain racial elements that certain people are going to pull a lot of meaning and significance out of. Other people not so much. And I think that's totally fine. I guess part of me is concerned that coming sort of out of WandaVision and having a lot of sort of expectations left in the wind, that if Marvel with this show is delivering something a little bit different than perhaps what's advertised or what we may have thought of as sort of a buddy cop action film, I guess I'm just worried, not for me personally, because I really like the show and I'm down. Like, and I think the Isaiah Bradley character, which I think is something they're going to explore, is really cool. But I guess I just worry that the larger fan base might not as fully accept this show. What do you think about that?
Well, one, I don't think they have a choice because it's the only thing that's out right now. LOL.
Well, they don't have a choice as far as like not watching.
I think like people will watch it regardless of how they feel because there's literally nothing else going on right now. Whether or not they actually enjoy it is a whole other bag of cats. I think the essence of any good project is like solid character work.
Yeah.
And while it may not be fun at first, the payoff usually makes up for it. So if this show can accomplish that payoff, I think it'll do its job. Which, as Marvel has done, as Marvel has shown with all of its previous projects, is something they actually
no, but I guess what I'm saying is that I do think Marvel is not just the like machine that it was a couple of years ago, and I think personally taking a year off, you know, we haven't really talked about the delays, but you know, another delay with Black Widow and Shang Chi. I don't think Marvel is as on solid ground as they once were. And I don't know, like, I think at the end of the day, the numbers will likely be fine. Disney Plus is growing at an inordinate rate, and they'll probably be fine in that regard. I just think, like, here's the thing. I've watched many companies over the last several years sort of get too big for their britches in some ways and not, like, give a shit about their hardcore fans. And if Marvel goes that way, they're not immune to it. Just like every other company is not immune to it. They'll get hurt and they'll get burned bad. So I just don't want that to happen, basically.
I guess I'm a little confused how this show wouldn't service the fans.
Because, again, I think if people want a smashy-smash Captain America, like, buddy cop action film, and the show is really exploring trauma, which, you know, it might, to do the due diligence of properly exploring these traumatic issues, it may well have to strike a tone that is different than I think the tone that some people were looking for.
Yeah, and you think people just kind of want like thin, fun, punch, punch, kick, kick, bang, bang.
Well, wouldn't you agree that Marvel sort of made its bread and butter off of just that?
Yes and no. Because I feel like there's always been heavy character work interlaced in between all that stuff. Like they're very action heavy and very flashy, but it always feels very satisfying because within those moments, oh my God, like 50th fucking nerd writer reference in this video. But one of the things he says that's really strong about Marvel fight scenes is the pauses they take. And he like shows the things that they say in those pauses that also like reaffirm character moment. It shows like Black Widow and Hawkeye fighting and they stop punching each other and she goes, "We're still best friends, right?" And he's like, "Depends on how hard you hit me." And he shows like the rocket scene and it's like, "Oh, I always enjoy the little things in life, like how much this is gonna hurt." It's like these tiny pauses within action scenes that still service character moments.
Yeah.
So I think that's, while they have been a flashy, action-heavy franchise, I still think they found like a really good.
Yeah, but I think you're kind of speaking to the model. The model is really like sort of. I mean, look, I love Marvel, but it's really surface level. This is not very deep shit going on. You know, like it's fun. It's very poppy. I think they nail the character moments mostly because like they really do just kind of embody those. I don't want to say like one note in a bad way, but really they embody the comic book version of the character. So basically like an archetypical version, right? The best moments with Chris Evans' Cap are when you feel like it's just right off of like a Rick Remender Captain America page, right? And it's like it's not really Chris, it's like Cap. And it's the same thing with Tony. Like you get a great moment with Tony, and it's like all for me personally. I can only speak for myself, but like the years and years of reading Tony Stark in comics and Avengers, and you know through Initiative and even like there's an umph there that like he doesn't have to necessarily work that hard. He just has to make me buy the character that I already know and love, and I think Marvel does that really really well. But the formula really has been fun, excitement, poppy craziness. And I'm not saying that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is not that, but it didn't start out that way. You know what I mean? Like, technically it did. The beginning of the episode is an action scene. But what I mean is, overall, I don't think that the episode... I think it's fair to say that the episode strayed from its formula. In fact, I'm seeing articles and sort of people praising it for doing this, right? Talking about how it's such a bold, interesting, piece of content. Well, that's fair, but what that means is you're straying from your formula. You know what I mean? Which is fine.
Yeah, but you're also comparing like origin stories to the continuation of a narrative, which are totally different situations, which is kind of what we saw.
Origin stories, though. I'm not necessarily strictly talking about the origin stories of the MCU.
I'm saying like in comparison to like the first Avengers movies to like Age of Ultron, they had totally different hurdles to climb because there's a difference between knowing a character and knowing a world and having to go on from that point than just like introducing a character in a fun way and following a model where it's just like fun and you just have to like to hit these like short character moments to kind of really sell it and do this, like as you say, topical exploration of that. When you're going into something that's already like deeply entrenched in like the franchise narrative, you kind of do have to do a little more excavation work in terms of like propelling the narrative forward than just
I agree,
what you would normally do for that kind of thing. And so with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like you also have to think about the fact that it's like this was like a 45 minute show in comparison to the satisfaction we might have gotten from like a 2.5 hour.
Right. So let me ask you this then.
There's still a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this then. Do you think that they should have maybe released 2 episodes or do you think that it's totally fine once we get to the payoff, like fans? Because here's what I'm saying. Like, I think I'm sort of dancing around saying that I think Marvel is playing with its audience a little bit. They think they're so like infallible in some ways. It is what it's feeling like to me, that they can do this, that they can make a show like this that ends on a cliffhanger with this new Captain America, and we'll be excited and talk about it and wait for the next one and then, check it out and go to the next cliffhanger, et cetera, et cetera. But again, the WandaVision burn is still very real. And so I just like, do you see where I'm at and where I'm like starting to get worried, where it's like,
yeah, well, I also think they still can do that. Like, I think we talked about this before briefly. Like, I have my own thoughts about binge-worthy shows, like the effectiveness of releasing a show all at once versus releasing it serially, like episode by episode, and how I think that works for some shows and doesn't work for other shows. And like the thing that I always think of is like Stranger Things, and how I like that that's a show that's kind of just plopped on you all at once, because it's a very binge-worthy show, and I think it's more effective if you get all the episodes at once because you can just kind of burn through it. Meanwhile, I'm trying to think of a serial show. The Expanse. The Expanse was a serialized, not serialized is the wrong word. That means like season, but a show that was released week by week. And I actually thought that worked for that show, because that show is definitely like a cliffhangery kind of show, hanging on an edge of your seat. It sucks, but like, God damn, I can't wait till next week. I want to know what happens. And so I actually don't think it's very effective for some shows to be released week by week if that's not the format that best suits them. But at the same time, because of the success and the name recognition that Marvel has established, they can kind of do that.
They can, yeah.
Whether it serves the show or not, because it's like, I think at this point, it is business smart for them to drag it out, for them to do it week by week, that just not have one weekend binge where everyone talks about it, then it's done. Especially with all these like pushbacks, right? Where they're releasing things later and later and later. It's like, let's drag this out for the whole 6 weeks and make people talk about it for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And they can, and they've earned it.
They have earned it. They have absolutely earned it. I guess it's just, it's just interesting in a time, in a day and age when things are changing pretty drastically. And I think, it's just a weird time. As a fan, I would really like the show to be great and for a lot of people to love it and for it to be sort of universally loved. And I don't know. I'm just a little worried. You know what I mean? I'm just a little worried in the way it is moving forward and how it might be.
I think the worries are a little premature. It's only the first episode, man. we have like I think we'll probably have a better idea of the pacing from the second episode of like how things are going to go.
Yeah. Well, the irony is, of course, that I love the show. So this is one of those things where it's like, the funny thing is, it's like, you don't get to choose, right? In this world, like these sort of things where it's like, this is my most anticipated show. I absolutely loved the first episode. I was like, dude, this is great. And I see what they're doing and I'm excited about it. But I'm not going to lie to people. You know what I mean? I look around and, you know, I know some people in the chat can't believe it. They can't believe it. But it's true. The world is not responding in a universally positive way about this show. It's my job to report this to you guys. You know what I mean? For sure. So I'm frankly worried. You know what I mean?
But I mean, I felt the same way about WandaVision, right? When I was first watching it, when the first few episodes were slow, I was like, I don't know about this. But then there are so many TV shows that I love where even like the first season was a slog. I don't think that
I know, but
necessarily
I don't think you
applies
can do that
to
anymore.
these shows because they're not going to be like a first season, second season kind of show.
Yeah.
But I also am willing to forgive like a first few episodes figuring its thing out if it pays off well in the end. So I'm always just like, I don't know. We'll see. We shall see.
Well, I will say this: they apparently they will actually be together in episode 2 or be united in episode 2, and that needs to happen immediately. I totally get why they were separate in the first episode. I think to your point, those character moments are going to pay off.
Yeah.
For sure. But man, a lot of the charm of these two is them together. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, I really need them to be together for the show to work.
But it would make no sense if they were just immediately together.
That's actually not true at all. They were immediately together the last time we saw them. They were together the last time we saw them on screen. Twice. For a funeral and for the passing of the shield.
Yeah, and it's like that. Well, sure. I guess they could have put them together.
Picked it up right then.
Flashbacks. But I have an inkling that the groundwork they're laying for who these people are individually away from each other is going to be more gratifying when they come together.
Well, I hope so. So. I'm just worried. I'm just being grumpy Grandpa Josh, and I'm worried about the show. So, what do you think is going on with these MCU delays? Are you cool with these delays, or do you think they're? Let me ask you this. This is what I'm curious. Are you going to see Black Widow in theaters, or are you going to watch it on Disney+?
If theaters are open at the time, totally theaters. Duh.
Oh, I see.
Always. We've talked about this a million times. Like, I love the theater. I'll watch it in theaters and then go back and watch it on Disney+ for like to review my thoughts. But I love the.
That's funny because I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to watch it on Disney+ first. And then I'll do like, you know, my thoughts and all that. And then I'll probably go check it out in theaters on like a matinee or whatever that Monday or something. Yeah, that'll be fun.
I don't really know if the delays are more economic and responding to what the world is at right now. I can't really blame them for that. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, for sure. I think the thing for me is that it's weird. I'm getting mixed messages because like putting it in July seems like they want the theater thing to succeed. They're like, this is the best shot.
Oh yeah,
summer. But they're putting it in Disney Plus the same day and date. So it's like, how much do they really want that July box office to succeed? I don't know. It seems. I don't know. It's a weird. It's a weird move.
There's also a different cultural response when people go physically to see it. Like when people go to the theater, they're like putting it on their Instagram story, they're talking about it on Twitter. And so it's like while releasing it at home is still effective in certain ways, like having that dual release I think will be way better for them. So it's like if we talk about that money, which Disney is always about that money, always, then of course if they're like, if we have to push it back 2 months to really hit that, you know, green mark, then they're gonna fucking do it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. I for me personally with the delay, you know, I've sort of talked about with everybody, but I think it's I mean, it's smart. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. It seems like the smart move because it only will probably add more money to the movie. Because I do think there will be a larger portion of people that will go check it out just simply to be out and be doing movie theater stuff, right? Because around that time, there should be like the vaccine should be very widely ready. You know what I mean? And everybody should be more out, and everything should be more open. So there will be a much greater chance of people just wandering into a theater. You know what I mean? Which is nice.
There's also, like, we've talked about the culture of going to a movie with a crowd of people, right? Mm-hmm. And it feels good to go see a movie with a bunch of other people that are excited about the movie. And so it becomes an experience. It's like, why do people go out to dinner when they could always order in? Because there's a difference. Like when you go out and you experience in something like in the physical world with other people, it hits different. And that is something that I think people will always bank on, whether the movie's good or not. So it's like when something's only released online and you hear it's bad, you just don't fucking watch it.
True. No, that's true.
There's
sort of you know what it is? There's a sort of a weird cognitive dissonance there where, like, if you pay to go see it in a theater, I think you're more apt to like want to feel like you made a good purchase. I don't know. People are weird though. People
you can't get that money back.
Well, people love shitting on stuff too. You know what I mean? Like, so it's funny. We live in like a really weird world where people love shitting on it too.
Well, it's just like if people go see it in the theater with no expectations, they can't get that money back. But it's like if they just have word of mouth to go off of, then people can just be like, "Fuck that movie, I'm not watching it."
True, double true. All right, cool. Let's get into DOS Q&A, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to throw a super chat in and tell me how grumpy I'm being, feel free. All of the super chat proceeds do.
So this is why you didn't want to talk about the Snyder Cut, because you're just feeling a little disgruntled today.
Yes. Feel free to throw shower Miss Darren Wood with super chats and trigger me all you'd like, people. This will be fantastic back half of the show, I'm sure. Please shower Darren with super chats, and we will be talking this nerdy-ish. Let's see what the people say. Oh, it's not showing me the fucking thing. Okay, so I'll read the one super chats that's showing up. And hope that YouTube gets its shit together before I blow up like Hiroshima. Oh my god, what the fuck? Alma Powell says, money to Darren, who's making fantastic points with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Oh, this is how you establish a background for these guys. I don't want cookie cutter if they're giving me 6 hours. I get why you're worried people would be uncomfortable. Well, I mean, to be fair, that's I like that. You know, I like the mentioning of the cookie cutter thing because it's true. It's not a cookie cutter show. It didn't have a cookie cutter beginning. So, respect to that. Yeah. What do you think? Anything else you want to say to Alma?
Yeah, I mean, if these shows are an exploration like of a different form for the MCU, then again, I'm always all for it. Curious to see what happens. Like, I am a sucker for a good character story. So when I see that shit being laid out, that foundation being built, then I'm very happy. Dude. Makes me. I'd rather have that than just like vague confusion.
Why can't I see the super chats? All the ones before are gone. I can only see the new ones. YouTube, you piece of shit company. Work with me a little bit here. Jesus,
yeah, I feel like I saw some before. Oh, that's
Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm gonna try to go up and go through them. Let's see here. Okay, I see Nicholas Ovell says, "Hear me out. Snyder Star Wars trilogy, The Rise and Fall of Darth Krayt. Take my money." That would be cool. I would be into that.
You said you don't want to fight. I can't even talk about Zack Snyder with you, apparently.
No, we can talk about it. I'm just going to bite my tongue. What would you like to talk about? Go ahead. Dude, why YouTube? Like, why? Like, legit. All I want to do is read the super chats. The same thing we do every single week. The same functionality that should happen every single week.
Difficulties kind of day.
Dude, it is. Evan says Ezra will be revealed as Rahul Boner. Josh, no, take my money. Well, thank you, Evan. I do appreciate a good.
Yeah, actually, no. If we're gonna just like talk about this, they're gonna. Yeah, I will say, I feel like that was the strongest character moments with the Flash stuff.
Yeah, I hated all the Flash stuff, but we don't
You
have to talk about
hated
it.
all of the Flash stuff? Why?
Because he's so weak as an actor. He's horrible. And his choices with Barry make zero sense. His choices with Barry are so annoying. He's more like the Wally West Flash, where he's all like goofy and jokey and shit like that. No, I'm sorry. Fuck that. Barry's put together. Barry figured shit out real quick. Literally, he's the Flash. So, yeah, I don't know. And also, there's so many scenes with him that like you're panning across this really serious moment, and he looks like fucking Mr. Bean. You know what I mean? Like just being like completely whack out of. I hated it. I hated it.
Well, I think they were just. I mean, I saw that what it was an introduction. Their only device of levity, like in the entire franchise, and so they just kept like hammering on their only levity
I guess that's
device.
fair. There was some
like
there was some levity in there, but I guess you're right? Like it is
like they're like we have one funny guy, so we're gonna make him the silly guy, and then like everything he does is like super silly and weird, and then I guess that would pull more of a Barry than Wally, but
I'm gonna try to reset
one random weird thing I like.
Thing. Yeah.
But I literally I was like, that was fun. Is like his anime movements for Flash. I don't know. Just thought it was fun. Like he was doing all these weird anime hand motions and runs, and I was just like, that's different.
You know, it made more sense to me.
And it pulled my eye to it.
It made more sense to me in this one. I actually don't like that weird like running, but I think the thing is, it's like he's so fast that he's like.
I'm not actually just talking about like the fucking orangutan arm running. I'm talking about like when he would start running, he would be like. I was like, that's so anime. Fucking just. No,
that is anime weird. For sure. Yeah, no.
like...
when he blew out of the shoes, that shit was sick. All right, I'm gonna read the super chats that I can, guys, and I'm gonna try to go back through. But I gotta be honest, I don't know what the fuck's going on here, so I apologize. Jennifer Cook says, for speaking truth against Josh is insanity. Darren, you saint. Daniel says, simping responsibly, kill count 1, burp count 0. Love the discourse so much.
I know, I actually haven't burped that much today. Wow. Should I drink my LaCroix and just like get that fucking...
Dude, drink that LaCroix. Do it upright. All good with being critical, and I don't lock down your opinion until you've watched it all. Take my money. Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I like the show. Maybe that's not clear.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about the brand. You guys... I feel like sometimes, and this happened before with like Star Wars, where people just don't understand. Like, I'm trying to speak objectively about what I'm saying, and it's like people just can't wrap their head around that. It's like, I like the show, legitimately. I thought it was sick. I loved it. Yeah. I liked all of it. But I don't know that it's going to resonate with fans. You know what I mean?
I just had another invasive Snyder Cut thought. Sorry, I just keep saying these, and you can just keep deflecting them every single time.
No, it's okay, please.
But speaking of levity, that one line of like, I know this is from the original movie, but it's like, what's your superpower? And he's like, I'm rich, is probably one of the best. It gets me every time. It's like one of the best written, but like, it's so funny. Like, it's so fucking... Like, is that from a comic, or did they just write that? Because that's, like, truly gets me every single time.
I don't know. I mean, it is kind of his superpower. It's kind of an unspoken...
It's like, what's your superpower? I'm rich. And I was just like, that is fucking hilarious. Like, that is actually... it's perfect. That's the one good thing that Batman said.
Oh, my jeez. All right. Nathan Tattoo says, just take my money, Darren. Go Danger Room. By the way, I had a $20 super chat earlier saying that you have to trust in Big Daddy Feige because he's going to be reshuffling things, keeping in mind that he has things planned for the phase. Nathan Tattoos, my brother. I'm with you, man.
Sorry,
but here's the thing.
See your super chat.
Yeah, me too. I feel really bad about it, and I'm trying not to think about it because I'm going to rage. But here's the thing I'll say to Nathan, and maybe we can sort of have this as a jumping off point. I'm not as... I was literally, I think this is really what it is. WandaVision really shook me real bad, Darren, because I can't decide whether... Like, here's what I can't decide. Did they cut that thing up and release it even though it wasn't ready, and they made the connections more vague, and they did all of that just to kind of get it out? That's my greatest concern. You know what I mean?
So what you're really saying is you have a little PTSD from WandaVision, and you don't want Falcon and Winter Soldier to
I've
break your
got
heart.
boner. I've got boner PTSD. Yeah, I've got. It's like the scene in Far From Home where he's like, "Everywhere I go, I see his face. Everywhere I go, I see boners."
So you just don't want to get like worked up and broken-hearted again? Is that what's happening here?
I'm trying to get snuck up by a boner again. You know, I'm trying to.
It's in the past. Just let it go.
Boner me once, shame on me. Shame on. Look, the point is shame on boners. Okay, thank you, Nathan.
Shame on boners. Cancel.
Okay. Oh, Lisa says, Josh, please take this time to take a few deep breaths. Much love to you both. One's the best I can do. Thank you, Elisa. That's very sweet. OG fan.
I didn't hear.
What's up? What'd you say?
You cut out for a little bit, so I didn't hear it, but I assume that's great.
I gave a breath. You didn't hear it?
Yeah, it was you taking a.
Yeah, that was my moment of silence.
I'm not picking up the cues. Sorry, can't see you.
Like that little ASMR.
Okay.
Did you hear it now?
Yeah, no, but yes.
OG fan, when Star Wars was just Star Wars, says Darren is on point for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I was worried after her first appearance, dodging Mando and propping up the crap that is the sequel trilogy. Good recovery, Mav converted. Okay, so yeah, he's loving your takes on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, that's nice.
You know, can't control the opinions that come into my brain hole. So
is this gonna happen? Am I turning heel? Am I turning heel and you're gonna be the baby face of the den? Like everybody's just gonna be like, yeah, but what does Darren think? Josh is just grumpy as fuck these days.
I honestly, it depends. Like, I do think that if we did talk about the Snyder Cut, everyone would just hate me and just be mad at me, and then they would love you. So,
well, guess what? I didn't want that to happen. Whitney says, I know. Whitney says, Darren, you are right tonight, as you always are. Josh, breathe. Remember when? Do you guys remember when Trev asked me to check my blood pressure? Sometimes the worst thing you can do for someone that's freaking out is to tell them to calm down.
Oh, yeah. Has any man dated a woman ever? Calm down is the opposite of assessing a situation. You're being crazy.
I'm fine. Carlos Antello says Justice League 2017 timeline was created by Barry's interference in BVS in 2016. This would mean everything after BVS is a new timeline. Tone shift by movies by Suicide Squad 2016 up to 2020. Yeah. So I think he's kind of referring to a canonical way that the timelines are going to shift so that we could have like sort of a new jumping off point. You know what I mean?
Well, that may all be true. I do think they're totally disregarding anything in terms of like his original character if it serves like the levity that they're trying to employ with his role in the Justice League, because no one else is like. I mean, I guess they kind of try to do it with like Aquaman. They're like, he's like, you know, he don't give a fuck. He's just out here, you know, living his own life. But I think they're trying to like establish them in certain roles, and he's the funny one. Yeah.
I guess I could give him another chance. I mean, like, I know. I feel bad because I know there's some fans that really like his portrayal and all that, but I just got to be real.
I just meant more like I felt like they only really did character work with him and Victor, like Cyborg. Like, well, they really
Well, I would say there was a serious lack of character work before, so maybe that's why it, like, you know, really sticks out to you as being super significant. And I can't argue with that. You know what I mean? Like
I was just happy to see it. I was like, ooh, look at me connecting to this character, learning about them. I like it. I'm here for it.
For me, just being the fanboy, there were more moments, little moments with both Bruce and with Clark that really pull out the character moments in much deeper ways for me. So, like, it's a little thing, but the fact that that island that Aquaman is showing up to, or rather that village, is super fucking isolated, that makes his character, like, just way more badass and more like the one that I know, other than being some random fishing village. The fact that Bruce Wayne came across an unpassable mountain past that, like, when he walks into the village, there's people standing around just like they do for Aquaman. Like, who the fuck is this guy that just came over the mountains? Like, that's Bruce. You know what I mean? So there's like little...
Those were all way better as opposed to just like Jason Momoa coming in being like, yeah, woo,
exactly.
all right.
Exactly.
It's like who the fuck? Like, who gives a shit?
Yes.
And so those were nice, but those were all...
They're
those
like
are
extensions
better,
of... Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do. I get what
like,
you're
as
saying.
opposed to like learning about like what's going on. It's like, obviously it makes sense because they did more of that in Aquaman's like own movie. So, you know, that was his own other thing. But I mean, I loved the Victor stuff. That was super fun.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of cool
better.
stuff there. I wasn't like, I gotta be honest, I think like I just wasn't necessarily super sold on their performances. Like Cyborg, I guess there's just a lot going on there that's really internal, so the brooding and just the constant that, like, I guess is fine. But
I know, I was like kind of surprised because like there was a moment in, I think, the end of the movie where I think maybe it was after his dad died, where I was like, oh, actually, I'm like, this guy, Ray Fisher, actually has some like really acting chops.
Yeah,
like that was the first time I really saw it in the whole movie. I was like, oh, I didn't really know that he was like this good of an actor, and like, good for him. Because I really like the guy who plays his dad, Silas Stone. He was like in Scandals, fantastic actor. So I thought that was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, for sure, it was it was a lot of brooding, but it made the whole villain storyline watchable.
Yeah, for sure.
Although every Steppenwolf scene, I was like, God, to the fucking...
I love the Steppenwolf scenes. But I'm a sucker for like, you know, set that bull up and let him go to town, man.
No, I meant like every time Steppenwolf talked to dude with the hood, not the dark side lackey.
Oh, Desaad. Yeah.
Yeah. Every one of those conversation scenes, I was like...
Those were not that great. You know what I mean?
I was like, wrap it up, guys.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's dope about... I mean, those scenes, the only reason they really matter is really to pay off Darkseid himself speaking to him at the end. You know what I mean? They were just not great. No, you're right.
And there were like 7 of them. And I was like, again, we're doing these scenes.
Yeah, for sure. If anything,
there were... him again? Why am I watching 7 Zoom phone calls? That's what it felt like, a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of, did you ever play like StarCraft or like like Sid Meier's Civilization or any of those? It's like you set up like a little base and then you have to start like getting resources and your base like expands and shit. And I was like, dude, like, he's totally setting up a hive right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then he's like calling his dad to tell him he's winning. He's like, hey, I'm doing so good.
I guess like I would have liked a more creative explanation as to what was going on. But as someone who was like objectively coming into the movie with no like prior emotional ties to like Desaad and stuff, I was like, this literally feels like a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it does. It did a little bit. Yeah.
We will get civilization to who blah blah. I was like, oh, word, you want to take over civilization?
You know, yeah. And they must think so little of civilization too, to like just kind of forget where the anti-life was. Aiden Hernandez, welcome to the Nerd Venture. You are a Nerd Venture now. Lorgasm says, I don't know, I'm never going out to eat again thanks to DoorDash, and I'm more comfy watching movies at home in my recliner. Hashtag introvert life. Yeah, I mean, look, I feel that, and I'm the digital boy living in a digital world, so.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, I just like to be punched in the face by the movie. Like, I just want to, just sitting on top of me.
Mother, save me. Did says, hey, Darren, hey, Nerd Vengers, Amazon has The Boys, which doesn't have action in every episode, so Marvel can have a show that has solid character development and just sprinkle... Dude... All right, I have to like literally reread this. Amazon's The Boys, which Marvel kind of show solid character in spring. Wait, what?
What are you saying with your mouthful?
Yeah. Amazon has The Boys, which doesn't have action in every episode. Okay, that's fair. So Marvel can have a show that has solid character development and just sprinkle in the MCU stuff. Okay, so the Joker Wild is defending your honor, Miss Darren Wood.
Love it when my honor gets stroked. Yeah, we'll see. I think it'll feel better if more of the episodes are very action heavy. So like it might be a good. My sister is calling me. Hey, I'm streaming. Don't you know about my life?
Don't you know my life?
Don't you know about my live reach? I post about on my story. So maybe there's all speculation. Obviously, we have no idea. Maybe some of the episodes are going to be very action heavy, so it'll make more sense to have one that's a little more narrative heavy.
I think. I mean,
which happens in The Boys too, where it's like sometimes they just like do straight emotional set, and then the next one is just like fucking gore, core, hard, just like in your face.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just want a little more. You know, I'm greedy for sure. I'm a greedy, entitled fanboy. I think like I'm just come to terms with it. You know what I mean? And I would just like a little bit more. You know what I mean? That's all. And I think we're gonna get it. You know. And look, I've heard about some crazy shit that's coming in this show, which I'm pretty excited about. Yeah, I just want everybody to be happy. You know what I mean? That's all. I just want us all to be happy, Darren.
Unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, well.
Oh, you know what? If it makes for good content, can you explain the fever dream at the end of the Snyder Cut to me?
Totally.
What was that?
Josh, Jay Stephanie says Josh is impatient. No, I totally am. Okay. Yeah. So the nightmare sequence, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
Like, okay. So at the very end of the film, when they remember how he doesn't separate the mother boxes originally, and and so then Flash goes back in time and then they fix it, right? Well, in the timeline that was the original timeline, when that happens, Darkseid comes to Earth. They start subjugating the different heroes. When Darkseid comes to Earth, this is all from like. Because Zach had a 5-film... Look, he makes very fucking long movies. He had a very fucking long story for these characters, okay? Mm-hmm. So he had a 5-film arc. And in this arc, one of the things that was going to happen... Like, did you notice how there was a birth test, a pregnancy test in Lois's drawer?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Superman... Right. Well, Superman has been dead long enough that people are showing up to ask why Lois hasn't been back to work.
Yeah.
And yet she's maybe pregnant, right? So there's stuff going on there that, like, basically what is rumored is that Bruce and Lois would actually form a relationship after Superman died, and that she's pregnant with Bruce's kid. I think. Pretty sure.
Scandal.
Yeah, scandal. And then what happens is Superman goes out to fight Darkseid after coming back to life. Like, this would be sort of post the Justice League that we just saw, right? So then Superman goes out to face Darkseid. He tells Bruce to watch over Lois because Lois is his whole world. He gets tricked, and Darkseid boom tubes into the Batcave, and he fries Lois with the...
This was like a very like Lois Lane dies, Superman goes dark storyline. I got that from it, but I just didn't get the actual scene. Like I was like, oh, I get it. Like Superman went dark because Lois is dead.
So in the
but what was that fucking Mad Max fever dream of like that?
Of what?
It was just felt like a Mad Max fever dream.
Yeah, like so that's like what the world. Yeah, so have you ever seen or read any of the like? There's versions of like Justice League stories where Apocalypse does take over, and it's all like crazy post-apocalyptic. Like
yeah, my boyfriend was like, "This is like what this is." He's like, "I'm pretty sure this is based off like one very niche comic run."
Yeah, well, there's a couple of them that are like that, but it's something that has been sort of explored a lot recently. I would recommend there's an animated film called Darkseid Wars, which is even crazier because like he makes Batman. He like takes. Darkseid like beats the Justice League's ass completely, and it's in a post-apocalyptic world that follows John Constantine, which is kind of fun because he's in like a bar in the middle of this like broken down city, and he's like, I don't give a fuck about anything, you know. It's kind of cool, but essentially what happens is like Darkseid takes Cyborg, fuses him to the Source Wall, which is a whole nother thing. He uses Wonder Woman as like a legionnaire. He has Superman, I think, used as a battery. He's using Batman as an intellect. He like basically like forces the Justice League into his minions.
So basically, it was like a post-credit scene that will never be, that he just stuck in there because he thought people would like it.
Yeah, I think it's to honor the wishes of those fans that have been super engaged with what could have been. So
yeah, so it's like, this is something like that's never going to happen, but I filmed it. Look at it.
Well, again, never going to happen is going to make me rage on you completely. So stop saying it. And also, hopefully...
Well, you're saying... Well, that's what you're saying, that it was like...
I know it's what I'm saying. I'm allowed to say it. You're not allowed to say it. Okay, anyway. Yeah.
Also, maybe I'm just a hater because I don't like Jared Leto's Joker.
Did you... Okay, because here's the thing. I don't like Jared Leto's Joker, but...
It's like not... It's just not it, bro.
But that scene was incredible. That scene was incredible. I'm sorry. That was one of the best Joker Batman scenes I've ever seen. It plays off of the history of those characters so perfectly. It hit me with all the feels. As a lifelong Batman and Joker fan, that was it. That was dope shit.
I don't know. I like more of the like Frank Miller Batman Joker nuance, where it's like he kills him on accident, as opposed to like, I will fucking kill you, you stupid motherfucker. Like,
yeah, but
I like, you know what
but
I mean?
come
like,
on,
like,
that was
Batman,
so
great,
cool,
like Batman snapping. I don't know. I was like, I guess.
Yeah,
I
can
like
be honest.
the accidental rage.
I couldn't have imagined a way that I could have like lived with, like, if I would have just read that on paper or even in a panel. I don't think I would be okay with it. But the way Affleck delivered that line, dude, like, it was so good. I was like, what are we watching here? Which, by the way, I think that those nightmare scenes, to your point, are the only, like, new photography, right? Yeah. So everything else, I think, was shot back in 2015, 2016, 2017. The nightmare sequences with, like, Leto and Affleck were new. So those were recently shot. So that's... like 2021, 2020 Jared Leto and Ben Affleck. Isn't that kind of amazing?
I know. I wanted to show you one of my favorite Joker memes, but can't find it.
Oh, well, that's a bummer. Just if you do find it, because I'll never forget now. Now I need to know. So.
I found it.
Nice. Let me see. Jared Leto watching. Yo, nice. Yeah.
Oh wait, gotta move to the side.
That is good. That is good. Nice.
And I was like, and my response to that was nobody shedding a fucking tear.
But at the time, I would have agreed with you. Darth Denver says, what do you think about Zack Snyder? Wait, what? Zack Snyder be making Dick the Dead Robin? Is that confirmed?
Oh, that was fun. Actually, that was fun. That was one part of the like speech that I liked. He's like a dead foster child. I was like, ouch.
Yeah, right. That's exactly.
Like,
I mean, he's like, and I love where he's like, be very, very careful what you say next. And he's like, that's not very careful. I was like, that's totally Batman, dude. That's totally Batman. Because he's like in his head, he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill this dude. And I love that he said it, because here's the thing that I love about Batman. Well, personally, for me, that's how I identify with Batman. Batman could, if he really wanted to cross that line, he could fucking kill everybody. Like, he could be way better than the Punisher, more efficient. He would be, and that's actually, by the way, folks, why he doesn't do it. Because he knows that side of his mind, and he's like, no fucking way. I'm going to put that wall up, and the code will protect the world from even my demons. You know what I mean? Which is like, pretty awesome. Yeah, I really like that scene. Aiden Hernandez says, hey man, love the stream, so I decided to stop being a broke Venger. Take my money. Well, welcome, man. Welcome to the Nerd Ventures. It's good to have you. Welcome. JT says Barry's wiener scene is greater than Ralph Boner scene. All right, let's talk about the wiener scene. What's up with those hot dogs, man? Why are those hot dogs in a scene?
That was like another... I know that like Zack Snyder like loves to do this, loves to like fucking noir style, like have like a 7-minute slow motion montage of things. But I was like, I get it. They're checking each other out. holy fuck! Like,
is that really what it is? Is that a sexual wiener innuendo?
I think it was just. I mean, I don't know. It was fine, I guess. Like,
I don't think so.
I think it was kind of. I thought it was
as fuck,
fun
dude.
because at the very end, when he was like, "Oh, I keep hot dogs in my pocket because like I'm so good with dogs that I get the job," I was like, "Actually, that's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie."
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
I was like, That's okay. That makes up for it because when I was watching it before that happened, I was like, "Are you serious right now?" And then he was like, "Oh, it's a dog treat." I was like, "Okay, that's fine." But
yeah.
I don't think I needed to see like 5 whole minutes of like them staring longingly into each other's eyes.
Oh, that part was great. It just take the wieners out of the shot. You know what I mean?
I was like,
yeah. Games with Erkman. Welcome to the Nerd Vengers. You are a Nerd Venger now. Irish Jedi says Barry is Mr. Bean. I completely agree. Nice. Score 1 for me. Nicholas Oval says, doesn't ScarJo get a lower percentage from digital sales, and that's why Black Widow keeps getting delayed? I do not think that is the full reason, but I am sure that plays a part in it. I think that due to like guild shit, they have to consider that, you know, as they should, you know.
I mean, I'm sure there's also some kind of like monetary thing. I mean, I'm sure at this point she's got a pretty solid contract on what her payout is. So,
well, I think she definitely got top billing for this film, but I think she is going to get that no matter what. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is great.
But that's what I mean. It's
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If that's going to put them in a deficit, then they're probably going to do whatever they need to
definitely. Well,
get that money.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's tricky situation. I mean, the world is going through sort of an unprecedented situation, so you know it is what it is. Zachary P says, Josh, you will always be my Huckleberry. No to the heel. All right, Zachary. All right. Jordan Ballridge says, Josh was right. WandaVision started great and ended poorly. Falcon the Winter Soldier was too boring so far. Ezra Miller as Flash sucks, but the movie was great. Damn! Look at that. We got a Josh fan out there. Someone that,
second one.
Actually, that's my alt account.
Yeah, you're like, that's just me. Like,
Yup. Thank you, Jordan.
Give it some time, Jordan. Give it some time.
Yes, we will give it some time, won't we, Jordan?
Or it'll all be shit, and then we'll all talk shit about it in a couple weeks. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. OG fan with Star Wars, which is Star Wars, says, for all the grumpy old men like myself. Dude, also grumpy old men got to stick together, huh? Mike says, the MCU is showing that there are people in the costumes, not icons. These heroes are fallible, broken. Their trauma is what separates, and at the same time relatable. Darren's absolutely the face. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is a nice face. So, yeah, she's the face. But I, of course, totally disagree with all of your points, Mike. But respectfully disagree with your points.
I feel like they're trying to do like a Spider-Man thing, right? Where it's like when they're not safe in the world, not that fun.
Yeah, but like Spider-Man uses his powers to try to pay the rent sometimes. You know what I mean? Like there's...
Well, isn't that what Falcon did?
No, he tried to use his celebrity.
Well, he doesn't have powers.
I know.
So literally same.
Well, no, meaning we're going to find out more about this, but I'm pretty sure Sam had an option to do some official superheroing, and he probably said no to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, it's like same thing as Spider-Man, where it's just kind of like I'm kind of broke. What do I do? It's like Falcon being like, "Hey, I'm an Avenger. Finger guns," and they're just like, pass. Like, regular life sucks.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's a lot of that stuff that I personally really like. I mean, I love being in a weird fictional time when like billions of people just showed up. Like, to me, just in general, I'm fascinated by watching how they're gonna write a world like this making sense of itself. Like, this just would make no fucking sense whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, this would be this would be so crazy. Like, I'm surprised that the world was as functional as it was in Far From Home. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
legitimately, there's no way, like, infrastructures would be completely collapsing. Things would be very dark and crazy. And so there's this tension that sort of hangs over all of Falcon and the Winter Soldier that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those situations, like Sam and his sister, Sam and the banker, Bucky and the old neighbor, you know, I think a lot of these scenes are formulaic in a sense that they could work in almost any sitcom or any kind of show, right?
Yeah.
You know, racial elements of injustice, post-traumatic stress disorder from military. These are not novel ideas. But the fact that it's threaded through this hero element and it's all attached to Steve and this character that we love, and it's attached to this world that we love, and there's this crazy thing hanging over the whole world, it adds sort of another layer of intrigue to those otherwise not completely interesting elements, I think, like on their surface level. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I loved about it. I like, you know, where their whole just feeling totally despondent about not getting this loan, but he's just like, dude, like, how many people do you think are showing up with no income right now, like asking for a loan? Like, let's be serious. Like, there's just like, there's nothing we can do. Like, the world is fucked up right now. And it just, that, you're right. That was an element I found very interesting. Because you're right. Like, because that's what Far From Home is. It's very like teenage.
Yeah.
A little more happy-go-lucky.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Maybe that's the role of these TV shows, is the role of like the Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage TV shows. Like, amidst all that, also everyday life, kind of shitty. It's very hard.
You know, let me ask you this too, because I sort of asked the guys about this on Saturday, and maybe you'd have a different take on it. Is that, do you think there's an element here of the fact that WandaVision might be dealing with trauma from a particularly female perspective, and we might be seeing with Falcon and the Winter Soldier sort of how trauma is dealt with from a very male perspective? Do you think there's anything there?
I do. And I also think it's tough because I kind of wish WandaVision did it a little bit better. It's not that it wasn't done well. It just, like, I wish it would have been a lot more emotionally intense in a way. Like, I felt like it only got very emotionally intense and kind of sad, like maybe in the second to last episode, and then it was very brief. But like, there is a different classification on the expectations of the handling of trauma when it comes to men and women, because it's like women, it's like, you're crazy, you're just being emotional, you know, you're just being irrational, blah blah blah, like you're just having a meltdown, we need to contain her, she's this crazy fucking bitch. And then with men, it's a lot more the expectation of like, get over it, be useful again, what are you adding to society, like, are you just gonna let this hold you back, like, you know, figure it out. So there are different expectations for just how trauma in men and women is perceived, and like how they're supposed to wear it. And I do think that that's being dealt with in different ways in the show. Yeah. And I'm excited to see it feels like they're going more in depth with it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I almost felt like with WandaVision, it was almost like too fantastical in a way. Like it was too artistic. Like, meaning like what they were trying to achieve with the whole artistic style of doing something very bizarre and bold, that we actually didn't get to do the whole like a deep dive of Wanda's trauma that I would have really enjoyed, because I think it would have been really honestly horrifying and like, you know, fuck you up kind of trauma. To be honest, and like, I wanted it, but I didn't feel like I got it.
Look, I feel a little bit robbed that we didn't, like, I almost feel like they didn't let her get crazy enough. I almost, you know what I mean? Like, I almost feel like there was this element of like messaging and them not wanting her to like really break down like the crazy bitch that she was. And it's like, I don't know what to do with that exactly, because mental health is a really interesting thing that we're all starting to learn more about. But there are weird things that happen with mental health where like it has such a stigma around it. And some of these stigmas get reinforced by like, if someone comes out and says, like, for instance, I'm depressed, and then all of a sudden like there's all these like things where it's like, well, can they even be, like they're mentally ill, so therefore they might not even be able to do this thing or this thing that are completely unrelated to like a depression type feeling that you might have. So I don't know, man. I think this is really, if it feels like I'm like getting sort of triggered or I'm at this place, it's that I think it continues to come down to the fact that like Disney, you just got to be careful because you're not actually that person to like, you're not actually that company to like actually go there and to really explore these ideas. You're going to give us a surface level sort of veneer version, and that's fine. But it's like, it's getting a little bit weird because I feel like the content of WandaVision suffered, to your point, the vision, the sort of grandiose visual things that the show attempted did function insofar as they intrigued us. But when the rubber met the road with the character, I just didn't buy it. I just didn't. And I didn't feel like a natural thing was happening with her fake ass family and her like actually having that grievance. I
get what you're saying, and I agree. And it, in the way that recently, like I've talked about a bunch, I just read that Brandon Sanderson novel, The Stormlight Archive, and the latest installation of the book, Oathbringer. So Brandon Sanderson is very like PG. Yeah. Like he talks about, like the war stuff and all that stuff can get very graphic, but he's like Mormon and he like never like goes into like a really salacious or like naughty route, but he will go hard. So it's like I've read firsthand very intense mental health, trauma, character growth work, PG style, and it's possible. So that's like, that's kind of what makes me sad is like, I have read the safe route that's still really, really effective and really, really good. So it's like, if Disney doesn't want to go that hard because they are trying to still like rein it in and keep it in PG, that's fine. But it shouldn't be at the sacrifice of what they're actually trying to achieve.
I agree. And that's the thing is like, I think when I sort of see that playing out with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's almost like, well, look, if they really are going to do it right, then that does mean this will be a very different kind of show. Because to really do that right is going to require the time and really the pain, man. Like dragging people through some painful experiences, but
there's a subtlety to it. Like the whole Stormlight Archive world is very fantastical, like very world build, crazy shit, out of this world magic stuff going down. But it just like, he will literally like subtly lace things in that take like a couple paragraphs that just like bloop, plop in, and it fucking explains something that like just makes everything, you're just like, oh my God. And it's like hits so hard. So, but that's someone who spent like years and years writing a novel. So
I know it's master of his craft. He's very,
so it's like, I also know that it's different when it's like this movie TV show timeline schedule where they're just trying to like crank out content, and it's like, well, you might have really talented people at the helm that have a goal and a vision for the product. Sometimes it's like maybe they just don't have enough fucking time, or like
that's the thing. Well, and I think too, to be fair, there was obviously scheduling things that happened with WandaVision. They pretty much admitted that they took the last 2 episodes and made it into 1 episode, and they would have loved to shoot more and stuff, and blah blah blah. And Doctor Strange wasn't in it because of COVID, blah blah blah, right? But it's like I get that, and I'm not trying to be a butthole. Again, I love Marvel and I'm very excited about everything that's coming, but it's like, man, just can't help but kind of be just a little skeptical, you know what I mean? As moving forward and just being like, man, like it would. I think once we get, honestly, I think this next episode is going to be a big determining factor. You know what I mean? However this is perceived and however this episode goes down, I think is going to really set the tone for the rest of the show. And
I also think that Marvel is a little more. Is better at telling male emotional stories. Like, truly and honestly, telling like a female trauma story is very nuanced, and it requires a lot of thoughtful shit.
Sure.
And Marvel has mastered the male warrior story. So I think
Yeah, but
they'll
that's not
do a
necessarily
better
the male trauma
job.
story. So, like, what I would say
Yeah,
is
but I
that
think they're just like better equipped for this one. So I think it'll go down a lot easier.
okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I guess it just kind of depends on how real they want to get. You know what I mean?
I mean, we'll see. I will be so impressed if they actually do go like horde into it,
I
like
don't know. I
Netflix
have mixed
Marvel
feelings about
style.
it.
But
I'd love to see it, but I tell you what, I definitely don't want is another like blue ball situation where it's like, oh shit, this is crazy, and then it's really not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, so I think we're gonna get it either way. All right, let's tear through these super chats because I need to get some sleep. Slow Mo says, I agree. Storyline didn't work in ANAD. Marvel, you more worried with the normie view than the nerd comic views of the show. Oh, all new, all different Marvel. Yeah. So this also happened to some of these characters in the comics as well. Trev says,
Oh, is that when they did like the whole revamp of like everything? It's like everyone's a lady now.
yep. It wasn't the most popular. Honestly, it was a horrible move for them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's inherently a bad move, but like at the time when
It offends me, kind of.
well, it doesn't necessarily offend me because it's just marketing. Like those people don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but it's just like, do you think that's what women want? That just be like,
They,
well,
I
we made it
don't.
a lady. It's like,
No.
we made it a lady. Are you happy now? It's like, no,
Well,
if it's just shit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I make that point all the time. I'm like, I don't think people that are genuine give a fuck about representation unless it's in something worth giving a shit about.
Yeah, unless it's real active representation that they've like been really thoughtful about. But
well,
like,
even then, I think there's a degree of that's like, look, you could read a poem, like for instance, Langston Hughes, like incredible poet, captures, I think, a lot of the spirit of jazz and African American experience, especially from like a much different time than we live in today, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that like that representation is as important as something like maybe Black Panther, right? And that kind of pains me to say because I definitely really like Langston Hughes, but my point is that like you're just talking about like just quantifiably different things. Like the one is representation. It reps. You know what I mean? Like it reps you on a big scale. The other is representation in the sense that it's like accuracy. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I've always sort of made the point that I don't know, I'm just projecting, right? So for me, it's totally different. But I would assume people that care about being represented, they want to be represented in some hot shit that's popping, right? You know
That's
what I
what
mean?
I mean. Like it offends me, like as a woman, when they're just like, we made it with ladies.
So you must love
Wipe
it,
their
ladies.
hands, done.
Yeah,
We
I
did
agree.
it. We love women now. It's like, no, you don't, because you're just doing the thing that looks good, but you're not even actually doing actual female representation. Because if you actually took the time to like write a thoughtful story that like represents the female experience, then that would be representation, not just like, look at her long hair.
Oh, I totally agree.
Done.
And there's
All
even,
done.
and you know what? The thing is, you could even go deeper on that because like there's like, is it representation or is it indoctrination? You know what I mean? And there's this whole element of like, well, if there've not been many females in these creative roles, you know what I mean? Like you really start to peel back and you're like, oh, representation.
Well, I'm sure this applies to race as well. Like I can't speak for other races, but I just know personally, like as a woman, when you can tell like a male writer is like writing the female experience from like a very like male like point of view, what he thinks like a woman would think, instead of just like actually taking the time to think of it as like a person level, you know, where it's like, hey, why don't you just like separate that and like actually just think of like the character as a person instead of, you know.
Yeah, character's a funny thing though because they're, you know, I think the more interesting a character is, the more they fall away from these sort of archetypical rules.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's like because I was just thinking in my head as you were describing that, I'm kind of like, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like there are some ways to make certain things like that interesting, and there have been
for sure
classic, you know, tomboy female characters that are fantastic, and you know, vice versa.
Yeah. Because authenticity is authenticity.
Yeah.
Filling a quota responding to like a corporate need.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing.
Shallow, hollow,
Yeah,
empty. Yeah, for sure. Trev says, all right, guys, calm down, chill. Serenity now. Drink some water, have a cold shower, take care of all that leftover boner rage. Will do, Trev. Thank you, brother. Toasty Space Ghost says, DDR looking lovely. Why didn't Bruce just fly into Aquaman's town? Why didn't he just fly into the town? I don't know.
Well, I think he did. He flew as far as he could go.
Yeah.
And then he parked and then walked.
Yeah.
Right?
And then Alfred
Well, that's what I got from it.
Yeah, and Alfred does comment on the weather and the wind and stuff too. I'd have to go back in there, but also because he's not Superman. Josh, I've also knocked over an empty beer bottle in a theater and it was loud. Yeah, dude, it is loud.
Yeah,
Alma says,
there.
unfortunately, with the nature of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, everybody isn't going to be happy. Change is always hard, and hopefully enough people will get on board. Yeah, but I want them to get on board because it's an awesome show. Yeah. And then if they pick up some cool new things, that's dope. If they don't, that's fine too. I legitimately just want the show to be serviceable to the 4 quadrants. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what it should do. So,
yeah,
that's just me. Jordan Baldridge says, oh, geez, I lost it. Jared Leto's Joker was great. There, you said it. Well, I said it, actually.
I love that for you. I love that you loved it.
There you go. She's so
That's
sassy.
how I feel about it.
Dude, she's so sassy, though, because I don't even know if I like that you said.
That's how I feel about everything. Someone's like, well, I don't agree. I thought his Joker was awesome. I'm like, I wish I felt how you feel.
You know, but why can't you make it more fun and, like, rage against the machine? Oh, well.
It's been through too much therapy.
Well, I certainly have not. Paris
paid too much money.
Yeah, right. I guess. Yeah, I paid way too much money to give a shit about. Yeah. You know what the fuck is going on? Saw the word delays and came here. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but Black Widow's been delayed, and so is Shang Chi. Colin Stanton says, Josh, who wins in a fight right now? Peter Parker or the Falcon? Petey Parker or the Falcon? I think she's close. Wait, who the fuck is Petey Parker?
Like Peter Parker, like Spider-Man?
Is that what you're talking about? Peter Parker? Petey Parker? Or the Falcon?
Spider-Man.
I think she's a close fight.
I feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's obviously Spider-Man. I mean, that's
can't match that gusto.
Yeah, plus, like, I mean, legitimately, like, I love Falcon, dude, but, like, no.
Spider-Man never gives up.
He literally never gives up. Yeah. Remember?
Falcon gave up just a little bit.
Falcon literally was like, fuck this shield, dog. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Lorgasm says, when did world building become a bad thing? I'm loving the show so far. The blip happened. Everything is weird. We got to explore and figure things out. You're absolutely right, Lorgasm. I'm also on board completely. Neon Links Production says Sam used his military contracts as proof of income to get the loan. His celebrity was what made him confident that he'd get it. It's one interpretation of it. I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree.
Well, I don't know what's not to agree about that.
No, I mean, he certainly was using proof of income, but I certainly believe he was trying to use his celebrity to get the loan. If you don't think that,
because in those things,
ridiculous.
It's a presentation. Like, if you're going to get a loan, it is literally a presentation. You have to come with like materials and resources and convince the loan officer why you are a low risk candidate. So it's like, while the numbers may tell one story, you should be able to convince them of like the prosperity of your business.
So let's do that scene from like the perspective of Josh, right? So like the guy'd be like, have I seen you before? And I'd be like, I don't know, have you? And he'd be like, you're the den of nerds, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd be like, fuck yeah, I got this loan, let's go. And then like 5 minutes
and you'd be
later,
like, so you have heard of me, so you know that I am a viable asset, that
yes,
I have growing popularity and presence.
I would, correct. But then he'd probably be like, oh, but YouTube clickbait, blah, blah, blah things, you know, and we heard your community hates you now because you didn't like WandaVision and shit. And
I saw the WandaVision reaction and I just got to say.
And then he'd be like, no loan for you. And then I'd be like, this is outrageous.
Whereas like another loan officer could just be like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the thing. So.
Yeah, it's a wild, wild world. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. Hopefully everybody's being good.
There's also another racial element to it because that plays into...
Do we have two chat? Wait a minute. Is this why I couldn't find the other chats?
There's two chats?
Whoa, wait. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on here. Hang on. I feel like there's... Is there two chats?
I'll put on lipstick.
Yeah, I'm going to put mine on in a second. My favorite Avengers, Tony Stark, says the Twilight Wild. Very cool, very cool. Sam should go to Goliath National Bank that GMB cares. Maybe he should. So does Thor come out before Doctor Strange 2 now? I think so, yeah. Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
What's
I think
the Thor movie going to be about?
The Thor 4 movie? Gore the God Butcher, Jane Foster. Probably have maybe the cancer thing, but she'll get a hammer. Her and
Is it going to be Natalie Portman?
Yeah. Yeah. She's coming back. Logan, I missed a lot of super chats, buddy. I'm sorry. YouTube's being ridiculous. I can't get to the super chats, man. The furthest I can go up is to Jennifer Cook's $10 super chat. So I can't go any further, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe we'll have somebody go through the video and find the other super chats, and I can address them on a stream or something.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, I do feel bad.
I feel really bad. I do feel really bad. This is a technical difficulties day. What could we do?
I mean, rage, dude. That's what we can do.
Josh, fix the internet. Is that so much to ask?
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't know. I'm sorry, everybody. Once I get stable in the new place, hopefully everything will be better, including all this bullshit.
Moving is a son of a bitch. The fact that you're still streaming while you're moving is actually pretty impressive.
Well, remember when we talked earlier and I was like, yeah, everything's unplugged.
Yeah, you're like, I'll get it plugged in time. That's what I mean. I'm very impressive.
Yeah, we got to figure it out.
Because I fucking hate moving is so hard.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. But I am pumped to be stable once.
So everyone have sympathy for Josh because moving is really difficult.
Oh, that's very nice. I legit made a release calendar. Oh my god, that's horrible, bro. Can we talk about James Bond and Black Adam? Yeah, so Pierce... Oh, wait, no, I see his super chat here. I see it. Oh, my God. Mike Border says, if you need me in July, I will be living at the theaters through 2022. MCU rules. Mommy and Daddy don't...
Same.
See, this is what Mike says. Mommy and Daddy don't fight in front of us den children. And that's what I was trying to tell you. That's why I didn't want to talk about the Snyder Cut, because I didn't want to fight in front of the kids.
I think it would be fine. It's not like real fighting. I mean, it's fighting, but it's like we...
No, see, you've had all this expensive therapy. I haven't. I will go full on man baby on you. All right, Logan Mo says, guys, let's be real.
That's what I'm here for, to temper it. That's why it's a good fight.
Yeah, someday we'll. Guys, let's be real. MCU is going to suffer because the characters they are featuring are the B characters. A-list Avengers are gone. They need the mutants. I mean, I definitely think the mutants would help, but
But then, to be fair, a lot of the main Marvel, not a lot of them, but a bunch of the main Marvel A-list characters were B characters in the comics. And they made it work. So 100%. It's like, I do have faith that they can elevate B characters and make them A-list characters. But they just, actually has to happen.
100%. 100% agree. Matthew says, what up, peeps? Which franchise do you think has the most potential? Marvel, DC, or Star Wars? What do you think about that? What do you think... Which franchise has the most potential?
I think Marvel, only because I really it makes me sad to see kind of like how Warner Brothers is handling the DC extended universe. It just feels very separate. Whereas Disney literally just went like, okay, Marvel Studios, like, be a separate entity, do your own thing, whatever, and that has worked out really great for them. I don't think Warner Brothers has the same relationship with DC, so for that it suffers. But in the same way, Star Wars also has its own agency, but the leadership there is just like all over the fucking place. Like, they cannot decide on a story, on a vision, on a direct, like, they're just, juggling and spinning a million different plates. So if they got their shit together, probably Star Wars would have the most potential because they have oh, so much lore that they can pull from, which always blows my mind when they fuck up in the Star Wars universe. Because I'm like, just read any of the fucking million novels and graphic novels that have come out, like, and they just won't. And it's so bizarre to me because it's just like, you already have things that have been like audience tested that would okay, sure, oh, all right, or no, just fucking all right, just keep doing all your weird shit. So if they got their leadership to figure out a vision, I think it would be great. I don't know if the same thing would happen for the DC extended universe, because it seems like no matter what they do, there's still going to be a boardroom of suits being like, but another thing, and then just like totally railroading.
I agree. I agree with a lot of those points. I think Star Wars has an incredible amount of potential, especially in the EU, the Old Republic, and even the future. I mean, Star Wars is a unique out of these three. Star Wars was created as films first, and then novels and comics sort of spun out of them. So technically, like, Star Wars can sort of just forge ahead with totally new movies, and it's par for the course. Whereas Marvel and DC will probably always have to fall back on the comics and the source material, right? Between those two, they both have crazy amount of potential. Some of the best comic book writers have written for both of these publishers and written for some amazing characters. But I will have to say, I think that Marvel does have the advantage. And I mean, obviously they have Feige, and that's just the whole game, basically, game, set, match. But also Marvel, even in just the comics, Marvel was always the more realistic, sort of like tackling the more really what's going on in the world, you know, stuff. So DC comics were always a little more like mythic and like archetypical.
But it's also like, but then DC also has so many like one-off stories that aren't exactly like the Justice League that I think would be really great to do.
I agree with you.
And they did do them in like in the early 2000s, kind of with like Constantine and shit like that. But I think they should really think about revisiting those.
I agree with you.
I think they would do really well.
I agree with you. I think the thing is that, like, from AT&T's perspective, I just, if you, okay, so if like I'm AT&T and it's like you've got Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, it's like I just, why the fuck aren't we making like just all the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman shit to like be like Iron Man was everywhere in Marvel. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like that's because they were like, well, whenever we put him in, it fucking makes a shit ton of money. You know what I mean? So like I just don't get how. If I was AT&T, I'd be like, I totally get like doing this fun little niche, you know, stuff and all that. But it's like, you have fucking Superman. Do you know Superman is one of the most recognizable characters in the history of storytelling ever?
The most recognizable superhero.
He's top three, probably. You know what I mean?
I would honestly say like number one.
He's number one of heroes. Yeah. But technically, Batman's probably just as popular as him, actually.
Yeah.
But like
I know, and it's like the lack of Superman stories they've done is so bizarre to me.
It's very bizarre.
Like, truly and honestly, like, there is so much Batman or Superman content to pull from, and we gotten like Man of Steel, and like all the movies
and the Donner stuff,
centuries, like, but centuries, one is in decades. Hello, what year are we in? So weird. And Henry Cavill would be so good.
He is good.
So good. Like, it so blows my mind. Like, why didn't they do like 4 Superman movies?
Dude.
It's so dumb. Like, I truly don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
They could have even done, like,
I
know,
by the way, Darren, do you know that Man of Steel grossed more than all of the Phase 1 Marvel movies combined?
And they're just like, you know what? I think we're done. I think that was like, it. That's all we need. Like, what the fuck?
Like, Warner Brothers is just like legit.
I truly think they could do something even super weird, like Dark Superman or like Superman Red Sun as like a one-off alternate universe movie, and people would still be down. Like, it wouldn't even have to be canonical. It could just be like the Injustice video games or whatever. If they just wanted to be like alternate timeline, want to see him get weird, everyone would like. I don't get it at all. Yeah. I don't get it at all.
And so
they're just like Batman. It's like, I know. So guys.
Nerds of the Roundtable was talking about how Pierce Brosnan is going to be in the Black Adam movie as Dr. Fate, which I'm pretty pumped about. But are you like a doctor?
I don't know that.
Yeah. So he's just like got a big sweet ass gold helmet. And he's a really cool character. So I'm pumped. I think it's going to be...
You can send me some stuff to read, and I'll read it. You know,
I shall.
My homework.
I shall send you the list. Although I wasn't super good about your homework, but we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, I know. God, I was like, "How about this?" And you're like, "Fuck you."
Not exactly. I was.
Yeah, you're right. You were like, "Fuck you."
I was like, "Fuck you, Darren." yeah, something like that. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it, dude. I think we've.
Yeah.
I think
solid
we've.
stream. It's been like 2 hours.
Solid stream. I've been a little grumpy, and I apologize about it. Someday I'll be a happy person, and we'll have happy streams.
I think it's fine.
Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just rage.
You didn't feel super grumpy to me. I don't know. I like thoughtful discussions about literally anything. So
I like thoughtful discussions as well. But
like, even if you like the show and you just wanted to talk about things that maybe other people said were bad, it's like, that's still a good conversation.
I think it's a good conversation as well, but I know the fans as well enough to know that they're all super bothered by my grumpiness. So, I'll.
Well, you have one fan that's here for it. Me.
Oh, shucks. Oh, thanks. Well, fuck all the rest of you then. We'll be back at it next week, and I'll be shitting all over. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us, and thank you for supporting the show and supporting Darren. And Darren, thanks for being here. Tell everybody about your YouTube channel and check out your stuff.
Everything is under my name, so if you ever want to see me on any other platform, just DarynWood, Darren Wood, like a tree. Enjoy my YouTube, Instagram,
Boom.
Patreon.
There you go.
Twitter.
Boom. Shakalaka.
Oh, I actually did a pretty cute Winter Soldier cosplay on my Patreon this week.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm interested. Color me interested.
Yeah.
I might, check it out. Thank you all so much, and that's gonna do it for us here tonight. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.
Bye.
Ta-ta for now, everyone.